You are listening to the Hello Sport podcast.
What's up, punters and dribblers? Welcome back to another All Talk with Hello Sport. We have got one of the great Australian fast bowlers. He was a bloody staple of the household a few years ago, back when I was a boy. And now he's just an esteemed commentator, Fox cricket commentator. And we're all looking forward to a big summer of cricket on Fox Cricket. Say Fox Cricket again, Tom. The one and only Brett Bingley joins us on the show today. So sit back, relax, maybe loosen the strides a little, and enjoy this one. Oscar Piastri's favourite cricketer, eh?
Yeah.
How about that?
How funny.
Did that catch you off guard? Did you because we were even talking about it before, we were like, how old is that kid? He's like 20 or something.
Early 20, I think 21. Grew up in Melbourne.
Okay.
And I went and hung out with him over in Japan recently.
Oh,
which was cool.
Okay. So you've had a relationship already.
Yeah, so I went down and he took me through all of the cars and the pits and everything and down a pit lane in Japan.
Oh, wow.
At the F1. And he embarrassingly said, he goes, I used to have a figurine of you on my desk at home growing up. I said, yeah, now I actually feel old.
Yeah.
I feel really old now.
Well, because we were trying to work out if he was wearing your that jersey as like a vintage sort of old school.
Yeah. Well,
jersey.
he got in contact with me and said after obviously the World Cup win, he wanted like a vintage ODI shirt, like a World Cup shirt.
Yeah.
And I literally had to scramble for one because I had it. This was on a Tuesday, I believe it was. And I had to get one sent to Brisbane to a friend that was going over to get on a flight to Dubai, package up my shirt. Firstly, find a World Cup shirt, which are scarce as hen's teeth.
But is that like something you've got laying around somewhere? Have you got to go find it or no? So
I don't have anything at home up on my wall or anything. It's all.
Oh no.
It's all in boxes.
Packed away.
Eventually, I'll get something. Get a room.
A pool room.
Yeah, pool room, exactly. How much for those jousting sticks, as they say? And then, so got it to the contact who was flying over to Dubai on Wednesday night, and he wore it Thursday. So it reached him in time, luckily.
Crazy. Okay, so you knew it was, at least you knew he was getting it. Because that pumped. Everyone was like, it was just obviously cool as well, I imagine. How'd your relationship, how'd you intro him? Were you over in Japan for any purposes to catch up with him already?
I actually went over through one of my sponsors, the YOLO group under sportsbet.io, the cryptocurrency group.
All right.
And so we were hosting a couple of VIPs out of Japan. So my working week, and I know you're going to start smiling here, I've never been to the F1, go to the F1, get fully catered for in one of the suites, which was unbelievable. They do it the best in the world. Yeah, I've been on plenty of cricket tours, but the F1 circuit is just off the hook.
Yeah.
And we had to literally hang out with these VIP Japanese people. So there's an interpreter. So you tell a joke and then 3 minutes later they laugh. So don't really get the...
Yeah, it's not the same reaction that you want.
But it was great. And then we watched the F1 and he came third on that particular race. But yeah, he's a legend, mate. He's a gun. Down to earth. He's telling me also too that he hasn't got a driver's license in Australia. He goes off his UK driver's license, so he went straight onto the Australian road. But
isn't that wild? Doesn't even have a. Do you ever catch yourself even now with everything that your career's been and all the things, the opportunities you've had, where you're still what is this life where you get to go and do these sort of really amazing things?
It's weird because I'm very close to my parents, my two brothers, Shane and Grant. And we're just a normal family. I grew up in I had a great childhood, very, very loving childhood. Down the south coast, a little place called Mount Warrigal, which not many people have heard of Wollongong, so I always say Wollongong. But just a normal upbringing. And my parents always taught me to respect people. So when I was out playing for Australia, you're almost like an actor. I actually felt like I was acting. I'm out there obviously trying my heart out and trying my best and trying to win matches for our country, and it's just you walk off the field, then it's back to normal life. So, it does get overwhelming sometimes, especially over in India. But here in Australia, it's pretty, you go into a pub and people will recognise you, and you get used to that.
Yeah.
I've had it since I was probably about 19, especially too my older brother first playing for Australia.
Yeah.
So he sort of pathed the way for me, and I just wanted to emulate what he did.
Did the behaviour of Australian fans become like almost get thrown into context the first time you realise what Indian fans were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so Australian fame, you're like, oh wow, maybe this is overwhelming in moments, or like, you know, and then you go to India and you're like, oh, actually, it's nothing.
It's crazy in India. Like that's why I say Australia's very tame. You'll find on a few occasions where people don't really understand how to go up to you and say g'day. You know, in Australia they might wave or they might get a selfie. You know, the autograph's almost dead now. You know, people don't ask for autographs. It's always
not many
a
going
selfie, and they ask for a selfie but get someone else to take it. I said, isn't that?
It's not actually a selfie anymore,
it's
is it?
not
No,
really a
this
selfie.
is just a photo.
And you know, you get sledged sometimes, or they'll have a bit of a crack and just muck around. And I always go back and have a bit of a crack, and you know, it's all tongue in cheek. Over in India, though, it's fanatical. You know, you get to your hotel foyer and there's 5,000 people waiting when you're on tour.
5,000 is just I know they're a big country, but like just to have 5,000 people waiting for you is insane.
Well, imagine the studio here. There'd be, you know, if this was India, there'd be people outside waiting, and that's.
Yeah.
But you never feel threatened. It's out of love and passion, and they just love sport.
Do you need security guards over there? Or is it sort of...
I'm trying to say this in the nicest way without saying like a wanker. Yeah, you do. You do. And I've used a South African English fella. It's more so just to have an exit strategy and a plan.
Yep.
Because it's overwhelming. You know, I've done appearances over there where windows have been smashed and people just pushing, just trying to have a bit of a look.
So just weight of just
yeah, but
people,
not
so
feeling
many people.
like, you know, your life's in danger or anything. It's just, you know, and shopping during the Indian Premier League, which was cool. You know, we had like 20 policemen with us when I was playing in Kolkata Knight Riders, and you go to the shops in Kolkata, and you know the mall's massive. You know, it's huge, and then they get wind of an Indian player or one of us are over there, and you know, it's like, I love fishing. Yeah. It's like, you know, the kingfish with the bait ball.
Like a bust up.
They just a massive buster. That's what it is. Then you feel like the little minnows or the little bait getting chomped around.
How would someone like Sachin Tendulkar get around? He wouldn't be able to leave the house.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, it must have been 2006, I think it was, we're over there touring and obviously playing Test cricket against him, and he invited me out to his restaurant for dinner. So he shut down the whole restaurant, and just him and I and his wife had dinner that night, which was amazing. So there was probably 30 chefs in there, and they're all waiting hand and foot on the great man, because he's like, you know, they always say Sachin Tendulkar, then God, and that's the level. But we had dinner that night, and we're playing a test in, say, 2 days' time, I think it was. Got to about midnight, and he goes, are you keen for go-karting? I'm like, yeah, thinking tomorrow.
Yeah.
He goes, okay, so he calls his guy at the go-kart track, and he goes, yep, let's go now. I'm like, what, now? It's open. He says, yeah, we'll get it open.
He can just
make a call.
There's an element to that, like, extreme level of, like, fame, money, success, where, like, you can just...
But he's such a humble guy.
Yes,
and
I'm sure.
People that meet him just understand how lovely he is. You know, a legend on the field, but a legend off the field. The way I look at it.
He's probably had to get used to doing things at like 2 a.m. You know what I mean?
Well, he does. Well, that night we went go-karting, and I T-boned him and almost wrecked his career, which wouldn't have been good. But then he goes, I'll pick you up for a drive my car at 5 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, I'll have a bit of a sleep in and get some food and have a stretch in the pool. He goes, no, like in 2 or 3 hours. I'm like, 5 a.m.? He goes, I can't drive it during the day. So he goes, just be out here 5 a.m. sharp outside your foyer. I'm like, okay. 5 o'clock, red Ferrari pulls up, and within 30 seconds there's 100 people around it.
Really?
Because I hear him coming, and they know he lives in that area. I won't say where it is, but I know exactly where. I've been to his place.
Is it a palace?
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful spot.
Yeah.
And we went for a drive for half an hour and came back, and
Fanged it around.
that was it, because no one on the streets. Well, there still are people on the streets, but not as many.
Not as many. That is interesting. That you like. I didn't even thought about that either. If you're that famous, especially in somewhere like India, you do just.
Yeah, and you know, you think that when they play cricket over there are 1.5 billion fans in India, but all across the world there are at least 2 billion people watching. If you're watching the World Cup, there'll be 2 billion fans that all love Sachin Tendulkar. So,
Crazy.
you think about what's Australia, 25 million. We've got it pretty easy here.
We do. And based on those numbers alone, should not have been successful at the World Cup recently, but we were because we're just that sort of a nation, right? We just get the job done.
Well, we punch above our weight, Brett.
We do.
Which is like...
In every aspect.
In every aspect. Exactly right. Exactly right. How much... Like, try and give an insight, if you can, into how devastated they would have been when we...
India?
Yeah. Got the chockies.
Shattered.
Yeah.
And you hear former Indian players saying that the best side didn't win, and we'll chat about this during the week, but the best side did win. So whoever raises the World Cup is the best team on that particular day. You can win 10 games in a row. It means nothing if you lose the final. I think India were caught off guard with the brilliant captaincy of Pat Cummins. His leadership skills are... I've been super impressed. It's great a fast bowler is a captain of our national side.
Yeah,
they always...
I
love it. There's all this saying about fast bowlers aren't intelligent, but that's just all rubbish.
Yeah. We were having a chat with Merv before, and just around that fast bowler captaincy thing, and he was speaking about how sometimes with bowlers you kind of need to be, at least in his sort of how he was, but like a little bit more emotional in the way that you're going at a bowler and trying to be aggressive. Then also, like, I think the which would potentially cloud your ability to know either when to put yourself on or take yourself off, or like feeling like, oh fuck, just one more over and I'll be able to...
Spot on.
So do you think that's obviously the general concern, right, with Pat, but it seems like it hasn't...
Well, that is it's spot on, because the conundrum that you've got is that you have to be an aggressive fast bowler because you have to attack. There's times where you play a bit of a holding role or a holding pattern, but then as captain you have to take the emotion out of it. So you're playing, you're wearing two different hats. And it's hard enough as a fast bowler to try and look after what you're doing and what you're thinking about. Okay, the first over I'm trying to achieve this, try to set the batsman up. I might try and get him to walk across, try and nick him off. But then you're thinking, right, second, third, fourth over, you've always got something like these different plans, well, at least I did anyway, in the back of my head of how I can set the batsman, how I can make those early inroads to getting the wickets. But then he has to worry about what Mitchell Stark's bowling from, which end, how is he feeling, how's his rhythm, what Josh Hazlewood's doing, Zampa, where's he bowling, what's happening with our batting lineup, how's India looking, there's 130,000 people, it's overwhelming. And when it's hot in India, it's really hard to focus and concentrate. And they've proven that when you're dehydrated, you can't think, you can't switch on. So it's hard enough being a bowler in a team, certainly in a test match, but then to captain 10 other guys and try and worry about their emotions and their feelings and the strategies and the different plans, it's tough. So hats off to him. He's a gun. He's a legend of a bloke.
Yeah. Well, the boys all seem to love him. That's what we hear consistently. They all just want to go to battle for him. But if you think about how long the year's been, like they were in India at the start of the year in February, and then to still maintain the rage this late in the year, get the World Cup's unbelievable. At the same time, England's sitting there going, well, we would have gone better in the World Cup if we didn't have the Ashes this year. It's like, but we were in it too, and we were away.
They were rubbish, unfortunately.
They were, which again was lovely to see. But back on Pat being a captain, back in the day when, say, Ricky was captain, or even earlier with, Steve Waugh and Tubby and everyone, I guess one of the things that Pat has is other people say he's got good players around him that he can lean on, like Smith or a Warner or something, people who have either captained before or maybe they're just tactically more aware. Back in the day, was the captain more likely to be I'm just the man here, or would they always have lent on other players around him for tactical advice or feedback?
Oh, look, I think if you ever look back at, in my opinion, the best captains, and I played under Mark Taylor in Sheffield Shield, first class level. Unfortunately, I was too young before he retired from this Aussie side. You listen to a lot of players and they reckon tactically and a man management side of things, he was the best. Mark, and I can vouch for that, playing. And, imagine him trying to control and look after Shane Warne. And what Tubby did was pretty much said to Warner, you do what you have to get ready, whatever that is, as long as you're ready to bowl. Yeah. Whereas other captains would say, you're not doing that, or your diet's not right, you're not doing this, you haven't done that. He was like, no, I'm going to let him be his own man and embrace that, and that's why they were so tight. For me, it was Ricky Ponting, and what Ricky Ponting did, he had that mindset, he had that belief in his players, and it was hard. Different eras have changed, but right back to Alan Border was when he changed the captaincy role, and it was his team.
Yep.
It wasn't Cricket Australia's team, it was Alan Border's team in conjunction with Cricket Australia, or the ACB back then.
When you'd see like players, there's usually always someone who's anointed as like the next in line to the captaincy. Do you see elements within the team when it's like they're maybe trying to, like players trying to almost fulfill that role, or like, I guess the balance of trying to be like I might be the next person in line, but I've still got, say, a Ricky Ponting ahead of me.
You can't undermine someone.
You can't undermine.
No.
Was there
that has happened?
I'm sure. It
has happened.
Does that sort of unsettle the team generally?
Yeah, look, it does. But I think going back to your previous question, with Pat Cummins, he has got the experienced campaigners around. But you've also got to give credit to Steve Smith and David Warner, who rightly in their own way are great leaders. They are great leaders of the cricket team. They have got good cricket brains, and they just enhance what Pat Cummins is doing, because there's times where, and I'm sure it happens, where mentally Pat needs 10, 15 minutes off. And I'm sure it happens where we'll say to Smudge, can you give us 20 minutes rest? Just so I don't have to think.
Interesting. Yeah, right.
But what you don't want are players trying to get up to that leadership role for whatever reason. Because if you look at what does a captain get, what does a captain have, one, it's the prestigious notoriety of being a captain. It's probably the most important job in the country. I always say the PM
that's
in
what
Australian
say.
captaincy is right up there.
And they'd be spot on, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you've got, obviously, when you look at the commercials, you get a higher rate, you get a better dollar value. You get a captaincy allowance.
You get the suite.
Yeah, well, everyone gets their own room now, which is sweet.
Okay.
Different spelling. But you get a captaincy allowance as well, which you're meant to look after the boys at the bar after a win, whatever. Doesn't always happen.
But that allowance would just be like outside of what you're saying there, where it's like, let's shout the boys. What is a captaincy allowance getting you?
It's a very good question, because I've played under captains that haven't probably used the captaincy allowance the right way.
Yeah, which ones?
Which ones?
So it's been
you blinked twice.
How's this weather going? Every captain's different. Everyone's got their own. I'm not going to give you a name. No, but like the other thing too is that the pressure. And I think the captaincy allowance can also be looked from a commercial point of view, is that the stress that brings to the team about. They're always the one in the front of the press. Always have to be doing the interviews, the podcasts, the radios, their day finishes, and they've got 2 or 3 hours of media to do. So I'm happy with that extra commercial.
You can take it. Yeah, even Pat after the World Cup, he was, I don't know if we were talking about this last week, but like the next morning while you're seeing all these photos of Head and everyone ripping and tearing, he was like bleary-eyed walking into a room with the trophy, like going to do all this media, and I was like, wow, that'd be...
Yeah, and it's probably the only time as well where I think the press will then realise that if someone turns up and they're not as sharp as they... Pat Cummins he's a sharp character. He's very slick. He's very genuine. And that's the way he's a country lad. Back at Penrith, he's been brought up in the right manner. But he's also let to be human.
Yes.
And you have to celebrate your wins. I mean, that might be their last World Cup win ever. So you got to embrace it. You got to enjoy it. And I'm not saying go out there and write yourself off, but if you want to have a couple of quiet beers, well then good luck to it.
In the right spirit.
In the right spirit, that's
right. Of course.
Punters and dribblers. The podcast, as always, is brought to you by our really close personal friends at Ned's. They are the #1 betting platform in the business, and they are fantastic partners of ours.
They are good partners of ours.
They're really good partners. Like in terms of like what you want out of a dance partner.
Yep.
It's someone who's able to complement the moves that you have, but then also like elevate you through some of their own moves.
That's exactly right. Like Ned's looks at how I move, sees my moves, appreciates my moves, because I've gone on punters and dribblers. We know I move well. and then shows me a couple of fucking moves.
But doesn't want to lead the dance.
No, lets me lead, but is happy to go, have you considered this? Have you considered that?
Yep.
Best thing about Neds as well, won't whinge.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to whinge
No.
whine and carry on. Just says, I'm here to show you moves
Let me,
if you want. But
Let
you're
me
in
move.
control.
You're in control.
You're in control.
And you know what? It's almost like they know that like they're kind of letting you be in control in the dance. Like I'm probably a better dancer than you, but I'm going to allow you to do it, give you a feeling of, you know, like I'm in control. Like I'm killing it.
But also, you know, I want you to take control.
I want you to want me.
Yeah. I want you to want me.
Yeah. Grind up on me.
Yeah. Grind up on me.
Yeah. So that's
Dirty,
Neds.
hot, sweaty work.
Now, obviously, the profiles feature on Neds is a new thing they've got where you can go and basically follow different profiles, and you just you can see what everyone's betting on. If you like what you see, you can also copy bets.
Perfect. Go Neds.
Go to the About Even fucking group as well, bruh. Secret passcode is Dribbler. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on screen or visit the website.
What's the greatest win in terms of a celebration afterwards that you were part of?
We've had a few good ones. I remember one of my first, it was my first test season. It was 2000, the Sydney Cricket Ground. So played Boxing Day test, my first game. Second match, I was at the SCG for the last game of the series against India. And it was funny because I got, you only get given one baggy green cap now. And that was from Alan Border. They used to hand them out like they were floppy hats.
Really?
Yeah. And now when you see, I'm number 140 in one-day cricket. So you'll see the yellow cap with 140 on the side, which is my number. You get two or three of them a series.
Right. Yes.
And they're still very, very important. And as equally as important if you don't get the chance to play and wear the baggy green cap in Test cricket. But that used to be the same. They used to throw them in the bottom of your kit bag in the 60s and 70s and even, Bradman's era. They'd get several baggy green caps.
There you go.
Because they were it's just a felt cap.
Yes.
But it's not just a felt. It's the fabric of Australia.
Correct.
And
merino wool from Australian.
Well,
merino,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly right.
I should know what colour palette it is, but I don't.
Green.
But green, exactly. But that became then through Alan Border, you get given one cap.
So that was his thing. It was like, he brought that in as like, this is the thing.
Prestigious. You actually were playing for this cap.
Right.
Even though it's just a felt cap, it's got the Australian emblem on it. And you know why we've got a kangaroo and an emu on the emblem?
I do. Do you know, Edward?
I believe
I know it.
It's like, wasn't it the early coat of arms? Something like that.
But
Like pre-federation.
No, but why those
Why those two animals
because they
on
because they can't walk backwards.
Very good.
Which is great.
So it's great. And to learn that and to understand that the Australian culture is to keep moving forward and that never say die attitude. And that was our belief. That's the way that we played sport. But to have that baggy green cap. So I got given my first baggy green in 1999 in Melbourne. The very next game, so it's my second test, I get given another baggy green for the Centennial Test. So we got a one-off baggy green, like a skull cap, like they used to wear in the 50s and 60s.
Really?
So I've played two tests and got two baggy greens. I'm like, I'm not sure how many players have done that.
No,
I don't think any.
So were they the same, like looking, but just with like a little bit more
bit tighter
to it? Oh, they're a bit tighter.
Gilly made fun of himself because he reckons it made his ears look bigger.
Yeah, well, there's a little less sort of.
If it's
puffing
tighter,
out over.
It's like wearing like a swimming cap with an emblem on the top. But that sort of Sydney test, that was a really, really good celebration. And at the Sydney Cricket Ground, a lot of people don't know. And giving away a little bit of inside knowledge here, that in a sanctum where we feel comfortable, where there's no press and we can relax and just speak honestly and openly. After the test win at the SCG, the tradition is you'll get a cricket bat and go on the floor, 3 taps, and then a few minutes later you'll hear someone from downstairs, which is a cellar, which means come downstairs to the cellar. So you walk down underneath the change rooms of the Australian players, opposite where that where the race is there, and there's like a little garage door. You walk under there, and you walk inside, and there's this. It's only about this big, so we reckon it's Justin Langer's house because he fits in beautifully. And there's a door that's been signed by every Test cricketer, I think, since the 1950s. That's in there. Probably shouldn't be saying too much about this, but
that is,
and it's a cellar, so beers and wine, and you get down there and have a chat with some of the ground staff and have a cold beer with them, and
really,
and I thought, how good is this Test cricket stuff? And
that
tradition, knowing that the likes of Bradman have done it, and the heroes and Alan Borders and
they've all been
Merv Hughes and the
that's incredible.
Legends of the game.
I've actually never heard that ever. Like so you hear some stories like, and again because that's such an awesome one. So you bang the bat. Is that to like let them know like we're ready to come down?
Yeah.
And then they're like,
we are thirsty. We are thirsty. Come on down, Let's go. And then I had a pinch. That was a pinch myself moment where I'm looking around thinking I've got Stephen Mark Waugh, Ricky Ponting, Damien Martin, Justin Langer, Adam Gilchrist, Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath.
Jeez.
And here I am. What am I doing? I'm a guy from Mount Warrigal, and here I am in the secret cellar with my heroes I've watched on TV growing up, and I'm now a teammate. It's weird.
That's incredible.
It's great, but it's still weird.
You say you feel like an actor. Is that sort of like is there any element to that of like the imposter syndrome where you like almost feel like, oh, I don't deserve this, or like you feel like it's all going to sort of go away? Is that the sort of the energy?
Yeah, and it's probably overcoming that, and that's the hardest thing, because what I quickly realised in sport, it's when you break into the Australian cricket team, it's probably about 80% ability and 20% mental strength. But to stay in the Australian cricket team, it's 20% ability and 80% mental strength. It switches around.
Yeah.
And so people that second guess themselves or not confident without being too cocky don't normally last, because they're worried about all those things. They're worried about being that imposter. And my mindset was, I've trained my ass off to get here. I back myself. I'm quick enough to be in the team and good enough. But also, too, I'm not arrogant, the fact I've got to work harder than anyone else, because I wasn't the most talented. I wasn't even the most talented in my family, let alone the Australian cricket team. So I had to work a lot harder, but my dedication and the way I trained and that I was stubborn. And I still am, but that's what I think makes you an athlete, because you just never give up.
Have you always had that drive growing up? Yeah.
From 9.
Is that when you wanted to be?
Yeah, I told mum and dad I was going to wear the baggy green and bowl 160 Ks.
When you were 9?
9. I did first say, they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, well, I want to be a wallaby. Because they had that commercial going on back then about this big promo about, I want to be a wallaby. And Dad just shook his head, oh no, trouble here. But yeah, I just wanted to play for Australia. And whatever I did growing up was destined to be that.
How much consistent, like, it's because it's incredible to hear of a 9-year-old saying something and like being able to then go on and do it, right? Like, there's very few people who have that.
Yeah.
I always said I wanted to be a judge, and I didn't even know what a judge was, just for context. And then I wanted to be a chemist. Like, I was all over
Judge Judy.
And then a chemist.
Like, you know what I mean? You don't know anything at that age.
Broad spectrum.
Very broad. Yeah. And no disrespect to judges and chemists of society. Just a random thing to be sort of like wanting to do. But like, how are you keeping that consistency of mindset from such a young age, like that everything you're doing is sort of gearing towards it? Do your parents help with that? Is it having an older brother who was also clearly cricket inclined, who would like almost make you had to work harder to beat him?
I think all the above. You know, the setup at home was Dad never played sport, wasn't a cricketer. Mum was the athlete. Mum was a sprinter. And I still remember the age of about 12, and you know, back then you get chased around with a wooden spoon if you're being a little shit.
Or the signature cricket bat we used to get as well.
Right. But it was about the age of 12 where I finally outran her. She'd always mow me down, but 12 where I was too quick for her, and she started laughing. And, you know, I sort of knew then that had that fast twitch fibres, courtesy of Mum, and I guess on her side of the family, they're all sort of athletes. And Dad was the mental strength. He was like, okay, let's play cricket. But whatever you do, I definitely play a team sport because it's really, really good for you. But whatever you choose to do, you've got to do it 100%. And that was, I still remember him saying it even today. Whatever you do, commit to 100%. Give it your best shot. And he would go to the nets most afternoons with myself, my two brothers, one older, one younger, Shane and Grant. And he'd watch TV, started watching cricket, and looked at different techniques, looked at bowling actions. Why aren't they falling away? If they are falling away, it's going to hurt their back. So he upskilled himself very, very quickly. My dad wanted to be a doctor, actually. He's very, very switched on, very smart. Okay. And he just quickly realised about the techniques in sport. And so he just drove it into us every single day about that, almost like not the foot on the throat, but that sort of mentality, like keep going. Like if you're bowling fast, why are you trying to bowl fast? You're trying to scare them. You're trying to intimidate them in a sense to try and get them out. And I sucked at bowling spin. I couldn't bat. So fast bowling was what I naturally chose.
Did you just see that? Did you see fast bowling as your way of making the side, and so you honed in on it, or did you always have like natural speed that you could?
I think fast bowling came more naturally than any other part of the game. We tried spin growing up, but as I said, I was rubbish at it. But we did little athletics, so we all did sprinting.
So you were quick?
Yeah, I was decent pace. Never going to be at that elite level. Did javelin at school, did long jump, did all those things at little age, which was a lot of fun. And that's why I always say that to make a good fast bowler, you have to be a good sprinter. So the stuff I've worked with kids coming through from 16 onwards that want to be a fast bowler, they've got to be a good sprinter. And unfortunately, if you're not a good sprinter, you're not really going to be a guy that can bowl 160 Ks. You either have it or you don't.
What sort of, how quick are you running in? Like, are you...
Good pace.
Like 80%?
Yeah, at least 85. I remember in the 2003 World Cup, I was steaming in, like I was flying in. But what I was doing, I was teaching myself about running, and I learnt by mistake, actually. I used to train down at Balmoral. And so pre-season I'd do, up and down the beach there. And I would run a lap of the beach. And if I could do that in the soft sand with shoes on, because one, I was worried about stepping on something. Two, you have to make your feet and your glutes and all your legs and the muscles and the joints in your legs stabilise yourself so it's harder on the body. If I could do one lap, I knew I was decent in terms of fitness. If I could do 2 laps, I knew I was ready. So I'd do that pre-season. Then I'd get on the grass on the flat level and run, work on my sprint train. But then I worked on running downhill. And what I found accidentally when I think I was chasing a ball and I almost fell over. I was running that quick. So I trained my brain and my body to overspin, running quicker than what you could ever run on a flat surface. Yep. So then when I went out to the field, my 85% felt like I was just cruising in. But I had to hit that optimum speed. So like an A380 taking off, you can't just go zip and then take off. Yeah. You need that nice approach without being too long, but conserving enough energy to do it time and time again.
How wrecked are you after a spell? Like, it obviously is tiring, and it's easy to look at it and be like, to know. Well, I think it's easy to look at it and not truly understand how tiring it is. Again, from the work we were doing the other day, which was nothing like a spell of bowling, I found myself blowing a few times, being like, "Oh my god,
it's all relative to what you're used to, but it's hard work." Yeah. I don't care what anyone says. Fast bowling is the hardest part of cricket. It's the most sort of physical part of cricket. Yes, it's hard being a batsman and scoring a double 100 or whatever, and that's mentally and physically draining. But bowling, every single day I was literally hitting 100%. So I wasn't running in flat stick, but the effort at the crease. You hear counter rotation, hyperextension in layman's terms, twisting and turning. It's taxing on the body. But every single ball, I was maximum effort.
Also, a batter can get out first ball and their job's done.
Exactly
You can't get out bowling.
Unless you rip your hammy off.
That's right.
Sure.
But your spells would often be in the 150s. Consistently.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
You were just getting in there and ripping in ball after ball.
Had to. That was my job.
Over after over, day after day.
And the hardest thing is it's the expectation then. If you hit 150, you can't just sit in that little comfortable pocket at 140. And, I've unfortunately sometimes fallen into the commentary, sort of what people are saying around the world now. 135, 140, good pace. It's not good pace. with all due respect, it's not quick. 145's getting quick. 150's good pace, and then obviously to get to 160's like that's just
rare.
Whereas the only reason why I think 3 or 4 people have only ever hit 160, which I'm fortunate I've done it, but to bowl 150 is so taxing on the body. But it's
Ridiculous.
the best.
It's great to watch. That's for damn sure. I can't imagine.
It hurts.
How does it feel out of the hand when you're bowling 150? Like, is it sort of empowering?
It is.
Yeah.
If you
Like
want
you
to
feel
boost,
like the
if you
man.
want to boost the ego
Yeah.
and you want to feel on top of your game, to bowl 150s, it's as close to, you might see, soccer players or football players taking that perfect kick and curling one in the top left-hand corner. That's when they're on their best. That's when they feel great and they nail the ball. Or that big punt in NFL, whatever it might be. Bowling, to bowl 150 Ks plus, it feels pretty special because it's hard to do.
Yeah.
What's it like seeing fear in a man's eyes?
And stumps explode behind them.
Love it. You got to love it. It's that,
Absolutely.
that white line fever, but it's, that's what makes a good fast. You have to have that element of, you see, and you watch Dale Steyn and you see the crazy eyes, and I know it's going through his head. He wants to take wickets. He wants to scare the tripe out of him. But you're doing it in a sense where, like, I hated people getting injured. I want to make that very clear. I hate the sight of blood, and unfortunately, I've seen guys get badly injured in cricket, and I've been a part of that. I don't like seeing that, but in the context of what you're trying to achieve, and I've got no issue with bowlers intimidating batsmen on the provision they're trying to get their wicket.
Yeah.
Not just trying to hurt them.
We don't want to hurt them, but if they're standing in the way
Of the stumps.
If they need a good softening up, then it is what it is.
If we should have tapped in Piers Morgan, had a chat to him on the way as well. No, but we've obviously seen, I've probably hit about 250 people in the head over the years, and I was over playing in a junior Australian competition in Zimbabwe, and me and Ashley Nofke, he played I think a couple of games for Australia, one-day cricket. We broke about 18 helmets on that tour. And they had to start using our helmets.
Oh, really?
Did they really?
Yeah, but you've only got to pin them once, and then it scares them, and then you get their wicket, hopefully.
I was why when a helmet gets absolutely smoked, I thought a helmet would be more resilient than one ball. You know what I mean? I know that it's the impact is intense and it's heavy, but I just would have thought that a helmet was a little more resilient than one ball, and now I need a freshie.
Yeah, well,
But it seems like they're not.
Back in the day, and it's all relative to what you're used to now as well. Like, I used to wear one pair of shoes the whole season. Then when you get sponsored and you got the luxury of having a fresh, brand new pair of shoes on, I went through 66 pairs of shoes one season.
You get a taste for the fresh wheels. I get it.
I love the fresh wheels, like you get them on and they feel tighter. And I had to have my boots super tight. I had long spikes in my left shoe. So my left shoe was literally like
I was
loggers.
slightly.
Oh, they were different lengths. Left long spikes, and I had them made on a lathe.
What's a lathe?
Like a wood lathe spins like.
Yeah, like a.
Oh, right.
Made by. It was made by Joey Dawes, a former Shield cricketer for Queensland. He went into the sort of the footwear business, and he made some long spikes up for me. Now, hazardous if you spike yourself or trip.
Yeah.
But running and trying to bowl 150 Ks every ball, and the power that goes through your front foot. So most bowlers are twice their body weight. I was 16 times my body weight.
What?
So my foot
16 times.
Yeah, and I'd slam it down.
Yeah.
I was about 88 kilos, 90 kilos max when I was playing. So 16 times, that's a lot of weight.
16 times.
And then, so that's why I've had 6 ankle operations.
That is why. That's
But my
exactly
foot
why.
stops dead still. If it slid, I'd lose 20 Ks of pace.
Right.
So my right foot, I'd never blow out, but the pressure and the power going through my left foot, which is why I'd explode the shoes in almost every game.
Would the physios advise against you having longer spikes for that
Yeah.
reason?
Yep. They said you shouldn't be wearing that. It's not good for your ankle.
It's good
I
for me pace, though.
I said, Heather's bowling 120k sweatband swingers. Doesn't excite me. I said, I'd rather be injured.
Yeah. So that extra length in the spike is what allowed you to.
And you know who loved it? The great SK Warren.
Oh yeah.
Because by follow through, be ripping up the turf on a good length.
Of course.
He said, "Bingo, I reckon you should come around the wicket as a right hander." I'm like, "Nah, mate."
Was it? Someone was telling us the other day, and like you and Shoaib Akhtar like were on the same side for a club cricket game once. Is that?
That isn't exactly true. That was the media speculation, and a lot of people have asked me that question. But we were on paper to play for Mossman together.
That's almost should be illegal from like a criminal perspective.
Would have been good fun.
It would have been great for you.
When he came out, I was on tour, and when I went back, he was injured, I think, so we didn't get the opportunity. But there was they actually published it that we were going to play together on the weekend, and something happened, we couldn't do it. But there was a guy coming up from second grade from St. George, I think. So he looked up and said, "I've got to face Akhtar and Lee."
That would have been
second grade coming up.
But I opened the bowling for Mossman with Phil Alley. And for those that don't know the name or they haven't heard his name for a long, long time, left arm fast bowler for New South Wales, 6'11". He bowled high 140s at 6'11".
Jeez.
He should have taken 300 Test wickets.
Wow.
6'11".
6'11".
That's a tall glass of water.
And would run around like he's 6 foot. Like, you know how most guys, with all due respect,
they lumber
get over 6'6", they're a little bit sort of docile, clumsy.
Yeah.
Haven't really got the sort
newborn
of
giraffe
coordination.
sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
With respect, obviously.
With
Yes.
respect.
Clumsy newborn giraffes.
But like Jordan, 6'6", he was so agile. Phil Elliott, 6'11". Like if I was sitting down with him, we're the same height from here up.
Far out.
But his legs would come up to here on me.
Just monsters.
And he just bowled gas.
And so you bowled with him in the...
Bowl with him, yeah, and that was fun.
Again, for you, that would have been terrifying for someone else.
Just double teaming some bloke.
Yeah.
Far out, both ends.
Batsman's game, stuff him.
Did you ever get to play with Shoaib? Was there ever a moment where you guys got to play in a game together?
No, we played against each other a fair bit.
Sure.
I
guess these days you can see that, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, you'd always like, imagine if
Yeah,
Brett Lee and
he
Shoaib
also
Akhtar
played
together.
for Kolkata Knight Riders, but we missed, once again, he played in the first 2 years, I think it was, of the IPL. I was playing more up north.
Okay,
the
right.
Kings 11. But we played against each other and had some spells. My first 12th man duty before I made my Test debut was in Perth. It was the first 3 Test games or Test matches against Pakistan in 99, about November 99. And mate, he was bowling gas at the whacker. And I was just thinking, thank God I'm 12th man.
Yeah.
'Cause he's bowling wheels.
I
just thought, I love that. Because I heard his name in 96, 97. I was up at the Buena Vista. We'd won a game for Mossman.
Good spot.
Gone up for a beer at the pub. I look up. I'm looking at this guy going, who's this guy? The black hair flapping in. He's steaming in. His rump's about 45 metres long, bowling wheels. Shoaib Akhtar, I thought. And the name stuck with me. I remember exactly. I can remember the sun coming in the afternoon. I remember exactly where I was sitting, what we were doing. You know, that moment in time. And that was, I thought, wow, I want to try and emulate what this guy's doing. And we became mates out of it.
Interesting. So there's like that mutual respect.
Yeah. Yep.
Just a couple of fast guys.
Just a couple
As
of
long as
fast
he
guys
doesn't.
bowling fast.
However, there was a test we played in Sharjah, I think it was, against Pakistan. He's bowling 140Ks, 140Ks, went off, changed his shoes. I don't know, he came out, he's firing. He's bowling 155K Thunderbolts. He's gone, all of a sudden he's Rissole, Mark Wall, Adam Gilchrist, and I'm next in on the hat-trick ball.
Oh.
So I'm not even half ready. 2 minutes ago, I was sitting down just watching the guys.
Life was good.
Life was great. I'm facing, one of the fastest bowlers in the world. And he's gone for I know exactly what he's trying to do. He's gone for the massive in-swinger because the ball's tailing big time. Reverse swing. It's a beamer. It's hit me straight on the hip bone.
Oh, Jesus.
Missed my thigh pad, missed my rib pad.
Perfect.
It's like I felt like I've been shot.
Oh, my God.
And I hit the deck. I'm like, you You know, you meant that.
Yeah.
I know he didn't, but
He sort of did.
No, he meant to. He was trying to blow away my left foot.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what I used to try and do, right? Because I knew exactly. But I'm like, oh, you wait, right? He's like, Bingham, I'm sorry. I said, yeah, you wait, mate. So he came in the second innings, and I sniffed him first ball, hit him straight on the Pakistan badge. Badged him, right? But he just shook it off because it hit him in the badge.
It didn't hurt at least.
I said, at least mine bounced. But I'm not going to be all high and mighty about, because I've unfortunately bowled a few beamers in my time.
Well,
Never once have I meant it though.
There you go.
Publicly.
Hey,
No,
what was your favourite
maybe.
ground to bowl at? The Wacker must have been a doozy.
Wacker was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wacker was really good. Had a spell there in 99 where I think I bowled my quickest ever. There's no speed gun, unfortunately, but, you know, I'm 22 years of age. I got the Fremantle doctor blown over the right shoulder.
I love that.
The wicket's conducive to fast bowling. Hads is past the 30-metre circle. You know, and you just see real good bounce and carry. And I think what you see, to me, you know, I use the power of visualisation a lot when I was bowling. So I could time mark, blink for 1 second. I could see myself running in, see the action. It's almost like there was a GoPro or a drone behind me coming in. See the action, see the batsman nick one, and seeing Hads or Gilly dive to his right and take that specky catch, right, or a Macca's classic.
Exactly right.
And I would visualise that every single day. So for that to actually happen, and I just felt like I'm doing this easy here. I'm feeling really good. The conditions were perfect. Foot was stick it in nice and hard. The spikes were good. The ball's coming out. Yeah, that those days only happen a couple of times in your career, and that was like, that's the reason why I'm bowling fast. I love it.
And are you aware of it coming in, or is it more like, do you feel on the day like there's just something in the air, or is it just once you get going, you're just like, this is everything's right?
My hardest competitor was my own body, you know, trying to get myself up for the game. And like literally, mate, I'd be playing. I remember there was a test in Adelaide, and I bowled all day. And day one, it's 42 degrees, a dry heat, so it's not as bad as the Gabba on 25 degrees and humid. But I get up on day two, hop out of bed, and I felt like I was 80, honestly, with all due respect to 80-year-olds. Like I could not walk. My hammies are barking, glutes are killing, back sore, my elbows cooked, my shoulders are sore. Mentally, I was good, and I was so because I was dehydrated. We are losing 5 to 7 kilos a day, or 5 to 7 litres of fluid a day.
So you got to put that back in.
Got to put it back in at night.
5 to 7 litres.
Yeah, every day.
So you're just drowning yourself almost.
Yeah,
at
so
night.
you know you weigh yourself before you go to bowl, and when you come off the end of the day, you've lost at least 5 kilos.
Wow,
and it's all fluid. It's all
That's
fluid.
a heap.
So you can't keep the weight on when you're playing, which is hard. But then it's obviously when you finish cricket, it's, you know, you got to try and keep it off. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm perpetually in a state of just finished cricket.
You guys are in very good nick.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
But I remember I had to get myself up for the game, and I dragged my ass down the pool, trying to do a leg swim, thinking, oh, I could just tear my hammy first go. I was very fortunate, I guess, with my makeup, and once again back to mum and I guess the surname, or her maiden name, the Buxton gene we call it. I only ever had 2 muscle tears in my career whilst I was playing.
Wow.
Which is unheard of.
And you're getting around like that just...
And I was bloody sore. But I would work my way through, had my routine, had my breakfast, smash, and I'll be smashing in the Hydrolyte, the Gatorade in the morning, try and get your electric, because you drink water, just go straight through you. So, you know, you've got to get enough fluid in without feeling bloated, like you can't move either. And I look at the weather, I open the blinds, because I used to love overcast days. I loved it when it just tinkering on raining.
Yeah.
Like, and cold, like Tassie bowl all day. Love it. Whereas most bowlers hate that. Open the thing, window, the blinds, it's like 42 degrees again today, and I've got to do it all again today, and they're like fall down India, and it's a road.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Are they the hardest days to just
toil?
Yeah, and you're sore, and you know it, first ball, you're going to have like ankles killing, you know. It's like someone shoving a knife in the back of your ankle, because I was always battling, here we go, as a physio, posterior ankle impingements with floating osteogonums.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Huge.
Ankle jammed in the back, An osteogonum is when the little bit of bone chips off like a cashew nut, floats around.
Oh, and
dealing
it
with
locks
that.
It up and
And you got tears in your eyes when you're bowling the whole time. But suck it up, you're playing for your country.
You got to do it, yeah.
Like I used to always think, what were my mates that wanted to play for Australia that are watching on TV or out, working a 9-to-5 job, they would love to be here. So suck it up.
Yeah. Just do
and then
it.
you get out, you put your baggy and cap, and it's like, all right, let's go.
Would you
Love
just?
the pain.
That's awesome.
Do you take anything to manage the pain, or you just got to get on with it?
You could take anti-inflammatories and Voltaren and stuff, but you also don't want to wreck your stomach either. So it's keeping one eye on post-cricket, but also doing what you can in order to get through. But to me, it was about diet. It was about having the right nutrition, make sure I'm hydrated, and take Voltaren when you wanted to, take like an anti-inflammatory when you wanted to get through. But generally, I always found too that the big occasions that was like extra injection of synovial fluid in your joints. That's what it felt like.
Of course.
It's amazing how much you learn about your body.
There you go.
How many injuries you had again? You like your
Yeah.
surgeries? There was like a million of them you were rattling off the other day.
Yeah, no, I think I told you guys off air before, but when you go into a chiro or physio and they say shade in the area of your body where you're injured,
Yeah.
and I can just see my eyes because my eyes were fine. They were, they weren't sore. Everything else was sore. But I think I had about 11 or 12 ops over the years.
And that's like elbow, ankles,
elbows
back.
2 or 3 times, 6 or 7, 6 on my, major injuries, ankles. Broke my back twice. Had when I snapped my elbow in half and snapped through the ulnar bone, I woke up in the morning and my hip was killing me after I had the op, and I didn't realise they'd got like an apple corer, and they called out fresh bone out of my hip to put back in.
Jeez.
When they pinned it. That was worse than my elbow.
That is how you can even come up with that's what we'll do.
Yeah, you know what we'll do? We'll nip a bit out of the hip.
Bulging discs in my neck just from bowling and then looking up.
Ah, wow.
So I, probably would have been 4 years ago, I couldn't even look up. I had to hold my head to look up. And I found this amazing chiro in Chatswood. Mate, I'm 100%.
Really?
Now what stops me now is pinging the odd calf. The old man injury.
Yes.
So I'll try and do 8Ks around Narrabeen Lake, and I'll run around, and I think I'm 25 again, but I'm 47 now, and I probably don't stretch as much as I should and warm up. But who cares?
Yeah.
Hey, that's what it's about, right?
Exactly.
Keep going. You've still got the athlete's mindset, though.
Yeah.
That never goes.
Where your mind goes, you can do it. Your body's like, hey, mate, just relax.
Yeah, calm down, mate.
Just calm right down.
Calm
But outside of the calf, the body's fine now.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, it's fine. Elbow is probably the worst. That aches because I can't straighten it. So in winter that aches. If I'm doing because I love doing manual labour on the farm as well. Get down and move wood, and it's a good way to keep.
We were talking about that literally 2 nights ago. We were like, dream for us is to be able to own, separately, but get a space where you can start just using a shovel.
Yeah. Pottering about.
I love it. And I was down the farm on the weekend. Got a farm which I've always wanted to have a property and have some land and some cattle, and I just get down there with my old man, and we just, he's either on the tractor and I'll be lifting the wood and cutting wood with him and doing manual stuff, and it's
Splitting logs,
mate.
That's living.
It's great. It is living.
It is,
especially when you spend a lot of time in India in a really environment that's so. It's in your face. Everything's real tight and claustrophobic. So to get out in some space,
see the stars,
smell the flowers, as they
Smell the
say.
flowers.
Look up the stars.
That's it.
We don't get them around.
The simple
we
things in
don't.
life, boys. That's what life's about.
That's what it's all about.
Light pollution is one of the great enemies of the city. It's unbelievable.
Well, enemy of the stars.
Enemy of the stars in the city does my head in. Do you get back to India much?
Yeah.
You've obviously had, you've obviously become quite big over there over the years. A bit of one of our great exports into India, I would suggest.
Thanks, mate.
You've done some Bollywood work in the past. Do you want to elaborate on that for us? Un-Indian?
Yeah, I did that was actually an Australian film with Bollywood flavour, so designed for that market. So you're right when you said it was a Bollywood film, which it essentially was. That was done in 2015, and I'd been working with a gentleman called Anupam Sharma, who I did commercials with He's Australian Indian heritage gentleman, lovely fella, and he's done a lot of stuff with the Australian Film Awards and everything. And from 2000 onwards, we've been doing commercials. And he said, one day I want to get you in a feature film. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Sure.
Of course it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I've got a film for you, and I want you to be in it. I said, yep. And I thought, White's on, little cameo role, go across the screen, catch you later, I'll see you next week type of thing. But didn't realise it was going to be a proper 3.5-month filming, and I was the lead actor. I was like, wow. So, and I took it on, and that was, I'm glad I did it. I got ribbed from my teammates. But it was fun.
I bet they did though, right? Like, you can do anything slightly out of the ordinary and your mates are going to hang shit on you, aren't they? Like, that's almost what's the beauty of it.
That's the Australian culture as well, though, and that's why we love being here, because, you get brought back down to earth pretty quickly. And that's, that was something I learned from my parents, is that always don't think you're better than someone else either. So there's always that mindset, but there's always the mindset that I thought too was like, well, I'm just not a fast bowler either. I want to try other things. I want to try new things and new challenges, and this was a whole new challenge. So to film for 3.5 months and do a feature film was amazing.
How did you find the moments where you have to like really act, like in terms of like scenes that are a bit more like maybe emotionally involved?
Yeah, good question. Tough.
Yeah,
I thought the 140 pages of dialogue would be the toughest, and the acting would be the easiest to remember the lot. But we were doing 4 pages of dialogue a day, which isn't too bad, but it's still, and it wasn't memorize the script word for word. You could ad-lib a lot, and you could be in the moment.
Yep.
And I thought when you walk on set on day one, it's the opening scene, and then when you finish in 3.5 months, it's the last scene.
Yeah.
It's not the case.
All out of sequence.
And my respect for actors, and I used to call them actors and actresses, now they're just actors, right, is top shelf. They are geniuses. They are so good because you got to get yourself in that emotional state. And, sport's always about try and take the emotion out of it, whereas acting, you try to get the emotion into it. So I was playing a different role there.
Bizarre, right?
And because I was in this romantic comedy, there was a couple of awkward scenes and
There's a bit of kissing
scenes and stuff. Right. So sat down with my wife and I said, "This is the script." She goes, "Go for it. It's a great opportunity."
Yeah.
And then I wanted to warm in and get to know my lead actor, and she was lovely. Tanisha Chatterjee, and she's done a lot of work through India. Did a film out of England called Brick Lane as well, which she was massive in. And then day 2 of my acting career, here I am. It's a kissing scene. I'm like, this is awkward.
Yeah, I bet.
But she was funny. She was like, "Did you bring your Chewy?"
How many takes have you got to do?
Well, that was trying to do it one
Quickly,
take. But it's a team that you're working with. It's the environment. It's people make you feel comfortable. So you just look at it as part of the job. And it was a tough 3.5 months because there's so much every day. It was
all day, every day.
Locations, and there's a lot of downtime because it's like cut, different camera angles, different light. Look around here and the different lighting and stuff, and you get used to the cameras and everything. But it's waiting and waiting away, and then you have to be on. And so when I'd walk in, because my actor was called Will, and I had to be Will. So even at lunch, they'd be calling me Will.
Really?
I'd be wearing Will's watch, and I wasn't Brett, I was Will. So it's like what they call method acting.
Method acting. Yeah. That's what it is. Obviously, you've done a fair few things outside of cricket. Obviously, there's Six and Out as well, which is the band that you're in. I just have now blanked on the song, but there's like your most famous one.
Can't bowl, can't throw.
Can't bowl, can't throw. I'm also conscious of time, but there's just a couple of things we'd love to get to before we let you go. But Six and Out, how does that come about? And you're still touring and doing all that stuff?
Yeah, we're still available for gigs.
Weddings.
Bar mitzvahs, funerals, whatever you want. We started mid 90s it was, and I was in the New South Wales Sheffield Shield squad, And I walk in and I hear a bit of a whisper about a band forming. So Gavin Robertson, former Australian off-spinner legend, he'd been in a few bands with his sister, I think, and he's a drummer and a singer. So he was trying to form the band. So he had Gavin Robertson on drums, Brad McNamara, he's a former New South Wales all-rounder, and then he was executive producer, Channel 9, now works as an EP at Fox Sports, and a ripping bloke, the funniest guy you'll ever meet.
Worked with guys back in the day. He's a
you
great
guys
fella.
know him. And so he was on lead guitar. My brother Shane was on acoustic guitar. Richard Cheekwee, the first Chinese heritage cricketer to play for New South Wales, legend of a guy, lead singer, who my brother called the Asian Mick Jagger. And I thought, well, what's left? Got a drummer, lead singer, lead guitarist, acoustic guitarist, bass guitar. I had no idea how to play music.
Really?
Oh, really?
So I got my younger brother, who's like a legend. He's a qualified, done his grade 8 merits on piano. He's classically taught, plays every instrument. I said, we have to go buy a bass. So I went down to Wollongong. I think this is to test my memory. I think Jurgen's Music in Wollongong. Walked
Shout
in.
out to him.
Yep, they're probably gone under by now. Went in, looked at a bass. I said, all right. And he picked out a bass, and I looked. I said, it's only got 4 strings. He goes, well, most bass guitars have 4 strings. They can have 5 or 6. He goes, this could be difficult. And I went, okay, let's buy it. There's this purple bass guitar. And next day I walked in. I said, boys, your bass man's here. They're like, okay, you're in. And that was it. And then
And there's no idea
to play.
there.
no idea. I thought it can't be that hard, like 4 strings. But it's tough,
It's-
bass, because
yeah.
it's all the rhythm. I have to hang in the pocket with the rhythm section with the drummer. But we did a gig a week later at the New South Wales Awards. So we got up and we played one song, 3 chords, and it was the Proclaimers 500 Miles, and we changed the lyrics to Advance Australia Fair. And the crowd loved it. And I remember there were some people there at this blues function. I can't remember where it was, at the SCG I think it was. And these people came up and they gave us business cards and they said, if you learn 20, 30 songs, we'll have you at our pub. We'll have you at the Castle Tavern. We'll have you at the Coogee Palace. We'll have you at the Crow's Nest Hotel.
Oh, really?
So we went and rehearsed. We went to Piermont Sound Level Studio. I still remember it. And here we are rehearsing. And most bands will go in, they'll do a 40-minute set. They'll come out, they'll have a ciggy, they'll have a few beers. We went 6 hours straight.
Just
And
pounded it.
we pound, and we had Midnight Oil next to us in the other room, and they'd pop their heads in. These guys aren't resting.
That's hilarious.
And Gavin knew all the big musos through playing different bands. And they'd have a listen, go, oh yeah, it's starting to sound good, guys, and get the confidence going. Fast forward now, we've done 250 shows around Australia.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
I've had the pleasure we played at the Golden Sheaf once. The boys from NXS got up and played with us.
It's pretty cool.
Some pretty mad experiences
fun.
off the back of just having a crack at something.
Having a
throwing
crack,
yourself
but we
into
know
it.
probably 100 songs now, and we're comfortable that we're not trying to be Bon Jovi, but we give it a crack. Written a few songs, but mainly just do covers.
Yeah, that's great. And then obviously you've got the beer as well. Sydney
Beer.
Sydney Beer.
Sydney Beer Co., yeah, which is going very well, actually. I've been involved now for about 14 months.
Yeah.
Co-owner of the beer, and we're in 350 venues. 350s around venues around Sydney. It's
350
Malaysia.
around Sydney.
Yeah, so all through
Jesus.
Maryvale.
Yep.
Jackson on George is back in the game.
Nice.
So 3 levels of them. But
Shout out to Jackson's on
yeah, Maryvale have been really good for us. Catalina's and
How good.
we're in Iceberg, so we're in all the big venues.
Are you at the SCG?
At the SCG,
Love that.
Sydney Football Stadium. And our vision is so we're exporting to China and Malaysia.
Yep.
Albanese, very kindly enough, got a photo in China recently on his trip holding up a 6-pack.
Did he?
He did.
Good from Albo.
Yeah.
Good from Albo.
Very good from him. Because he's a member at the Marrickville Tennis Club. And we've
Yes.
got beer on tap there.
I actually heard him the other day talking about his tennis.
Yeah.
He was on the radio.
He's a very good tennis player. I was his tennis partner for ages.
Were you really?
Yeah. He's a good player.
Yeah, he
play.
wasn't. He didn't say he was a good player, but I could sort of tell by the way he was answering
quick.
questions. He's
lost a lot of weight too, so he's a bit quicker now around the court.
Beautiful.
He's a bit straight from my cool room. Cheers, lads.
Thanks, mate.
So yeah, this is our premium. This is our hero brand, 4.5% premium lager.
That's delicious.
No preservatives, and
Very good.
we've got our second SKU out now, which is our 3.5% mid strength. So we're
That's fantastic.
in draft, so in keg and that, and we're bringing out the bottles. So bottles and cans with the 4.5 and on tap as well.
So how'd you fall into this?
Met the two founders. It's been going since 2016. Met the two founders in 2019. I've always had beer on tap at home.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So, my wife loves interior design decorating, and she takes care of all the internals of the house, and I take care of the pizza oven and the beer on tap.
Yeah.
That's almost like the dream when you're younger. It's like, what am I going to have in my house? It's like, I'm going to have beers on tap, a pizza oven. Have you got like a home theatre? Surely. Come on, what else are you got?
Well, you got to enjoy life.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
But, and the thing is, you work your ass off in every aspect to get the finer things in life, and you got to enjoy it, right?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So I think about the days where in Adelaide, that second day of the test, and your body's screaming, and that's paying for itself now because you've earned it. But you're never better than anyone else. You never get appreciated and respect things. But try the beer. My favourite tasting lager I've ever had.
It's honestly really nice.
It's good.
It's really nice. And thank you for bringing a few more that we'll.
Well, there's plenty more where that came
get
from.
to punishing.
I'm a big lager guy as well. So, it works.
Well, people that try it love it. So it's that old saying, beer in hand. And look, we're really proud of it. They wanted to get me in as an ambassador, and I thought, no, if I'm going to get involved here, I want to have some skin in the game. And, got myself into, ownership, equity stake, and I love it. I love going into, and we'd like to just walk in different venues now and say, this is us, this is what we're doing. Give us a shot, because we're not trying to compete with the big brands like, the two, Lion Nathan, CUB, they hold. You got to upskill yourself very quickly. I didn't realise that when you walk into a pub, if there are 10 taps, 9 taps on general are contracted taps, and 1 tap is left for like the little independents called a swinging tap, and that's us. So we're fighting for that 1 tap per sort of 10 taps, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And we have got to find a way to activate and pull more beer through taps, which we can do.
It sounds like you're doing well. 200 or something, was it?
350 venues.
350.
Yeah, and we've got, I'll tell you, it's come
It's a
on
lot of
board
swing
now.
taps.
It is.
We've got Matt Nable, the actor.
Yeah, Matty
Matty
Nabes,
Nabes.
yes.
So he's a ripper. So he's former Bogues before he started his acting career and writing career.
Yeah.
So he's always been, his dream is to always voice over, because he's a voice of Fox as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a great
fantastic.
fucking voice.
Great
Matty Nabes is Fox League reps.
And his dream was to voice a beer ad.
Oh, really?
So he's putting together now some different ideas. We've got a whole marketing team and a CEO and a GM now, and it's fun.
How good.
Jesus, so it's coming along.
We're growing very, very quickly,
That's
which
right.
is exciting, but it's challenging, and as long as you got a good product. So the way I've lived my life, I was going back to 2000. I was a Weet Bix Kid for bloody 18 years.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to know how many you do, because I remember back in the day it was like, how many Weet Bix can you do? I swear yours was like off the charts, how many you had.
Well,
Was it
At least that's what you
14?
said.
I did 7, and the ad was, imagine if I did 9, right? That was the commercial. So I always did 7 Weet Bix. And then my mate Timmy Cahill, he came on board, and he did 9, so he trumped me, which I wasn't happy about.
No. Timmy's coming. Well, and did he put some mayo on those Weet Bix? Who knows? It's hard to
Do you
know.
have to, when you say that you do 7, do they
know.
make you eat the bastards
gotta
first?
sit there.
I ate 7, and I still eat them today, right? Even though I'm not sponsored by them anymore, but you're always Weet Bix Kid.
Yeah.
Weet Bix
And
are
my
an
kids
Australian
eat them,
classic.
and
That's
they're
what
great.
it is.
They're unbelievable.
97% whole grain, if you're wondering. It's ingrained.
Not an ad.
It's ingrained in me, right? Ingrained, I should say, in my brain. That was put 2 words together. But when you do the commercial, they had a spit bucket. And because I was only young and green, and I was, just played my first test, and I'd gone on, and I was the new ambassador, or the first ambassador. and they do the shot, and you eat it, and you're like there, and they go, and cut, and you're meant to spit it out, so you're doing different takes, and I just kept eating. And they looked down, the spit bucket's clear as, there's nothing in it. I did 32.
So you're actually the king of the week.
So that's actually your number.
I did 32, right?
That is ridiculous.
But mate, I was like...
You must have been stuffed.
I bloated for about...
Yeah, dude.
I was good. Couldn't eat for about 6 weeks.
So you actually put George Gregg into the sword. Because
And
George used to do like big numbers.
He was in the teens.
He was in the teens, I'm sure he was.
Yeah.
George, but was he in the 30s?
No one's been in the 30s, sure.
Nah, that was... wasn't ever registered like that, but...
No speed gun there.
It's the signs of marketing too, even to this day. You know, even like 3 days ago, someone asked me how many I did in the street. So it's the power of marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the great ads all time.
Yeah.
It's
like
fun.
it's been so enduring.
Yeah. Like I remember, again, the fact that you got asked yesterday how many Weet Bix you do, and I made a mental note this morning, which clearly I forgot, but I was like, I got to ask him how many Weet Bix he's doing. It's fantastic.
Well, when I first ordered a box, they said back then you had to do a fax, had to fax in what your order was, and I said, could I please get like 3 packets of Weet Bix? And they're like, no, you got to order in bulk. So I ordered a pallet.
Oh, wow.
So everyone loved me. I was like,
Dishing
mates,
out Weet Bix.
just dishing out left, right,
Slinging
and
Weet
So
Bix.
you had like come to the back of my car, pop the boot, just have some boxes of Weet Bix in
But
there.
everything on the menu was available. But that's the thing. I've always loved marketing. I've always loved advertising and looking at different things, and that's probably why we go back to this. It's something that you have to believe in. You got to love the product. And I love the sales about it. I love the challenge. So to me, and working in menswear from the age of 17 taught me that. So
You sell suits, did you?
still do.
Do you really?
Yeah, my next meeting is with a gentleman, Noble. Is with a gentleman, Richard Bowman. They used to own Barclays Menswear. That gave me my first job when I was 17.
Really?
So I'm still with him today.
Wow.
Because I always believe if someone gives you a chance and opportunity in life, you stay with them.
Hell yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
so I'm seeing him next.
There you
How
go.
ironic.
There you go.
Slinging
It's
suits.
the full circle.
I used
Isn't it?
to sell suits at David Jones, mate.
Did
So
you?
we've got that in common.
You'd
When
be
I was
about
18.
a 104, probably regular fitting.
Yep.
Outside leg about 107, 108 centimeters. There you go. You were about you might have been a 40, 41 neck, but you could fit into about a 40 neck, I reckon.
Yeah.
You could squeeze into one.
Yeah.
There
It's
you
about
go.
a 40 neck.
I'd
Yeah,
love to get,
40,
I'd love
41
to get
neck.
fitted by Binger in a nice fresh suit.
I'll sort you out.
Oh, there you go.
Mates rates, easy.
Yeah. What about
That's
his
what we
neck?
do.
What about his
what do
neck?
I know? I know 44.
42 and a half.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there
That's
you go.
nice. I think last time I got measured, it might have been slightly thicker, but I can't remember.
That's all right.
Mate, again, I know you because you got to go.
That's fine. No issue.
Fox Cricket have got their sort of season launch this Friday,
Yep.
December 1. Where's that taking place? Parramatta?
It is, yep. And we've got a lovely lunch on afterwards. Look, working and having the opportunity firstly to work at Fox is incredible
Yeah.
because, and I wouldn't say this to Patrick Delaney, you'll probably watch this, but getting paid to do something that you love and to be with your old teammates and talk about the game that we all love is just, it's a joke. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's that environment where you actually can speak and speak your mind and actually say what is really going on. When you're contracted to Cricket Australia, I can press play and have 1,000 standard function answers.
Yep.
We've lost the game, you get up on the stage and they ask you, or, Fox or Channel 9 back then will ask you about thoughts on the game. And what I wanted to say was, well, we lost the game, but actually that call for the umpire cost us. We know it wasn't out. He gave it out. It's cost us the match. I know he's human, but that happens.
Yeah.
If I said that, I'm gone. I missed
Mate.
2 or 3 games. Whereas now we can say it's a shocking call for the umpire. Yes, he's still doing, or she's doing, or he's doing his job, whatever it may be. But you can call it out.
Yeah.
It's that pub test.
And the freedom to actually speak honestly.
To
in the
express
moment.
yourself. Yeah, because that's our, we're actually getting paid to express our views. And obviously there's, you swim between the flags, but you got a lot more reign as to what you can say. Whereas I think back when you're playing, you're almost a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
You can
that's
tell,
why podcasts like this are great.
Exactly right. And I think when we've sat down with ex-players before, I think that sometimes they realise, oh, this is like a completely different format, and maybe I can be not as honest as you can be if you're retired, but as opposed to those press conferences where it's just like media trained, one answers, very predictable. You know,
you also know that everyone in the room, essentially, from the media side of things, is trying to get you to say something. Like the whole
everyone's after a headline, right?
Yes, so they're wanting to try and position a question to give themselves the best opportunity for you to like not necessarily fuck up, but like to say something that they're going to be able to.
You could ask me a question now that could be even the one with the captaincy, right? The tight ass captaincy. I could answer it in 10 different ways and not give you an answer.
Yes.
But that's experience. But when you're young and you're green, and I remember when I was 12th man against Pakistan, they asked me, the journalist said, what's your aim? And I said, I want to see blood in the wicket. So Steve Waugh came up to me and goes, mate, that's what we want to see, but maybe don't say it publicly. So, you live and you learn, right?
Yeah.
So then it was more like...
Good answer, though. The guy would have been like, fucking oath.
Yeah.
And you want to see blood in the wicket, but then when I saw it, it was like, I don't want to see blood in the wicket.
No, I don't actually
a bit
really
of a weak stomach,
this.
I don't want to see him going back to not getting hurt.
Not wanting to hurt someone. But yeah, I guess you're young and it's that bravado as well. And like, so... Obviously, you must be pumped for the summer then, generally, right? So, like, what has been great to see with Fox Cricket as well is, like, obviously, growing up, it was Wide World of Sports, it was Channel 9, it was all of that stuff. And then when that changes, you never really know what to expect because they were such a lionised, like, commentary team.
Yep.
It's just actually been great how well Fox Cricket have taken the baton and just, like, run with it, improved on it, and... I guess really like made it a thing of like it's like modernized it. I imagine that's quite a cool experience to get to be in as much as it is also just fun.
Yeah, and that's a great way that you've articulated that because we're not trying to be the next Channel 9 because we also pay tribute to what 9 have done. Channel 9 was when we actually grew up, and when that theme song would come on.
It's summer.
It is summer, and I could still smell the grass and smell the bloody zinc.
Yes,
and that song, that theme song comes on before that jingle comes on before Channel 9 starts the cricket, and welcome. You got Tony Gregg and Bill Laurie and Richie Beno. I was so fortunate to work with these guys. In the commentary box, I was working with 9. Stuff I'll treasure forever because that was up there with even playing cricket for your country. Because it's the commentary team.
Yeah.
So we've taken what they've done, and you got Steve Crawley, who I think's done an incredible job at Fox, former head of sport at 9, and taken over and started his own brand, but also paid tribute, not to sort of say, well, bugger 9, because it's a different, it's you got free to wear, and obviously with what we're doing now with Fox and KO, but we've got an amazing team paying tribute to what's happened, but we're now creating our own little niche.
Yeah.
And the style in which we deliver our product is mates that are calling the game as it should be called, that should be enjoyable to watch. Because cricket is a long game, don't get me wrong. So you got to pay tribute also to Test cricket because it's not all bravado and about being heaps of energy like you'd commentate in T20. You got to call the game as it is in Test cricket.
Yeah.
And I still think back to Richie Beno, he's saying... Let it breathe.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes he wouldn't say anything for like a whole over almost,
Tell you a quick story. I'm on air. It was myself, Ian Healy. I was working for Channel 9 and the great Richie Beno. It was towards the end of his commentary stint. And we have a half an hour slot. So Heels is lead and we're doing colour. So seats 2 and 3. And Heels is here on my left and Richie's on my right, and I'm looking. Heels is talking, and Heels is a terrific guy. He was the only guy that helped me in the commentary box. Give me some advice.
Is that right?
Really?
Yep. So Heels is talking, I'm talking, we're trying to get Richie, and he's like... he's just there waiting. And I'm thinking, okay, because I'm still new at this commentary stuff, and I'm looking at Richie, and he's not saying boo. He's just looking straight ahead. And we get to 29 and a half minutes, hasn't said one word. And Brad McNamara is producing. And then I hear, Cap, change of commentators. We've got Mark Nicholas, Bill Laurie, and Tony Gregg. And he takes his earpiece out. He goes to the back of the commentary box. Has not said one word.
In half an hour.
Anyway, so we get back in, and it's look up on the roster. Healy, Lee, Benno. Same again. And Richie's there again. He's just like looking out. And I'm thinking, he hasn't said a word again.
What is he doing? And
they were hearing my ear from Buzzard behind me go, fuck, Richie's on a pair. Someone asked me a question. He said something at the end, and it was just like what he said. I can't remember what it was, but it was absolutely spot on. And even though it took an hour to say that one sentence, it was worth the wait.
Yeah,
Richie's on a pair.
And then he Richie's on a pair, asked him a question, right? And he took his in-ear out, took out his plug, and he walked to the back. And I just thought that's why he was the king. Mm. But yeah, to work with those legends, it was. I've done stuff in my life where I still pinch myself. Like, how did I achieve that? How did I get that opportunity? And honestly, my life's only just started. Like, this is stage 2. That's why I'm so excited. Stage 1 was the acting cricket part. Stage 2 now with Fox and with Sydney Beer and with different opportunities from a commercial point of view. It's fun. It's exciting.
Awesome. Well, mate, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for letting us try the beer.
No, I'll leave them for next time.
Yes, appreciate that. And we'll see you around for the summer. I'm sure we'll bump into you at some point.
Good on you, mate.
Love the podcast. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Thank you, mate.
Legend.
Could you two just not talk anymore?